Muammar Muhammad Abu Minyar al-Gaddafi, c. 1942 to 20 October 2011, commonly known as Colonel Gaddafi, was a Libyan revolutionary and politician who governed Libya as its primary leader from 1969 to 2011, taking power in a coup d'état. He ruled as revolutionary chairman of the Libyan Arab Republic from 1969 to 1977 and then as the brotherly leader of the Great Socialist People's Libyan Arab Jamahiriya from 1977 to 2011, when he was ousted in the Libyan Civil War, initially developing his own variant of Arab nationalism and Arab socialism known as the Third International Theory. He later embraced Pan-Africanism and served as chairperson of the African Union from 2009 to 2010. The son of an impoverished Bedouin goat herder, Gaddafi became involved in politics while at school in Sabah, subsequently enrolling in the Royal Military Academy, Benghazi, founding a revolutionary cell within the military. In 1969 they seized power from the absolute monarchy of King Idris in a bloodless coup. Becoming chairman of the governing Revolutionary Command Council, Gaddafi abolished the monarchy and proclaimed the republic. Ruling by decree, he implemented measures to remove what he viewed as foreign imperialist influence from Libya, and strengthened ties to Arab nationalist governments. Intent on pushing Libya towards Islamic socialism, he introduced Sharia as the basis for the legal system and nationalized the oil industry, using the increased revenues to bolster the military, implement social programs and fund revolutionary militants across the world. In 1973 he initiated a popular revolution, with the formation of General People's Committees, purported to be a system of direct democracy, but retained personal control over major decisions. He outlined his Third International Theory that year, publishing these ideas in the Green Book. In 1977, Gaddafi dissolved the republic and created a new socialist state, the Jamahiriya, officially adopting a symbolic role in governance. He retained power as military commander-in-chief and head of the revolutionary committees responsible for policing and suppressing opponents, overseeing unsuccessful border conflicts with Egypt and Chad. Gaddafi's support for foreign militants and alleged responsibility for the Lockerbie bombing led to Libya's label of international pariah. A particularly hostile relationship developed with the United States and United Kingdom, resulting in the 1986 U.S. bombing of Libya and United Nations imposed economic sanctions. Rejecting his earlier ideological commitments, from 1999 Gaddafi encouraged economic privatization and sought rapprochement with Western nations, also embracing Pan-Africanism and helping to establish the African Union. Amid the Arab Spring, in 2011 an anti-Gaddafist uprising led by the National Transitional Council broke out, resulting in civil war. NATO intervened militarily on the side of the NTC, bringing about the government's downfall. Retreating to Sirte, Gaddafi was captured and killed by NTC militants. Gaddafi was a controversial and highly divisive world figure. Supporters lauded his anti-imperialist stance and his support for Pan-Africanism and Pan-Arabism, and he was decorated with various awards. Conversely, he was internationally condemned as a dictator and autocrat whose authoritarian administration violated the human rights of Libyan citizens, and supported irredentist movements, tribal warfare and terrorism in many other nations. Early life. Childhood. 1942–43–50 Muammar Gaddafi was born in a tent near Qasr Abu Hadi, a rural area outside the town of Sirte in the deserts of western Libya. His family came from a small, relatively uninfluential tribal group called the ɡə'dɑːfi, who were Arabized Berber in heritage. His father, Muhammad Abdul Salam bin Hamd bin Muhammad, was known as Abu Minyar, and his mother was named Aisha. Abu Minyar earned a meager subsistence as a goat and camel herder. Nomadic Bedouins, they were illiterate and kept no birth records. As such, Gaddafi's date of birth is not known with certainty, and sources have set it in 1942 or in the spring of 1943. Although biographers Blundy and Lycett noted that it could have been pre-1940. His parents' only surviving son, he had 3 older sisters. Gaddafi's upbringing in Bedouin culture influenced his personal tastes for the rest of his life. He repeatedly expressed a preference for the desert over the city and retreated to the desert to meditate. From childhood, Gaddafi was aware of the involvement of European colonialists in Libya. His nation was occupied by Italy, and during the North African campaign of World War II it witnessed conflict between Italian and British troops. According to later claims, Gaddafi's paternal grandfather, Abdeslam Abu Minyar, was killed by the Italian army during the Italian invasion of 1911. At World War II's end in 1945, Libya was occupied by British and French forces. Although Britain and France intended on dividing the nation between their empires, the General Assembly of the United Nations declared that the country be granted political independence. In 1951, the UN created the United Kingdom of Libya, a federal state under the leadership of a pro-Western monarch, Idris, who banned political parties and established an absolute monarchy. Education and political activism. 1950–63 Gaddafi's earliest education was of a religious nature, imparted by a local Islamic teacher. Subsequently moving to nearby Sirte to attend elementary school, he progressed through 6 grades in 4 years. Education in Libya was not free, but his father thought it would greatly benefit his son despite the financial strain. During the week Gaddafi slept in a mosque, and at weekends walked 20 miles to visit his parents. Bullied for being a Bedouin, he was proud of his identity and encouraged pride in other Bedouin children. From Sirte, he and his family moved to the market town of Sabha in Fezzan, south-central Libya, where his father worked as a caretaker for a tribal leader while Muammar attended secondary school, something neither parent had done. Gaddafi was popular at school. Some friends made there received significant jobs in his later administration, most notably his best friend Abdul Salam Jalaud. Many teachers at Sabha were Egyptian, and for the first time Gaddafi had access to pan-Arab newspapers and radio broadcasts, most notably the Cairo-based Voice of the Arabs. Growing up, Gaddafi witnessed significant events rock the Arab world, including the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, the Egyptian Revolution of 1952, the Suez Crisis of 1956, and the short-lived existence of the United Arab Republic between 1958 and 1961. Gaddafi admired the political changes implemented in the Arab Republic of Egypt under his hero, President Gamal Abdel Nasser. Nasser argued for Arab nationalism, the rejection of Western colonialism, neo-colonialism, and Zionism, and a transition from capitalism to socialism. Nasser's book, Philosophy of the Revolution, was a key influence on Gaddafi, outlining how to initiate a coup. It has been described as the inspiration and blueprint of Gaddafi's revolution. Gaddafi organized demonstrations and distributed posters criticizing the monarchy. In October 1961, he led a demonstration protesting Syria's secession from the United Arab Republic. During this, they broke windows of the local hotel accused of serving alcohol. Catching the authorities' attention, they expelled his family from Sabha. Gaddafi moved to Misrata, there attending Misrata Secondary School, maintaining his interest in Arab nationalist activism. He refused to join any of the banned political parties active in the city, including the Arab Nationalist Movement, the Arab Socialist Baath Party, and the Muslim Brotherhood, claiming he rejected factionalism. He read voraciously on the subjects of Nasser and the French Revolution of 1789. as well as the works of Syrian political theorist Michel Aflaq and biographies of Abraham Lincoln, Sun Yat-sen, and Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. Military training. 1963–66 Gaddafi briefly studied history at the University of Libya in Benghazi, before dropping out to join the military. Despite his police record, in 1963 he began training at the Royal Military Academy, Benghazi, alongside several like-minded friends from Misrata. The armed forces offered the only opportunity for upward social mobility for underprivileged Libyans, and Gaddafi recognized it as a potential instrument of political change. Under Idris, Libya's armed forces were trained by the British military. This angered Gaddafi, who viewed the British as imperialists, and accordingly he refused to learn English and was rude to the British officers, ultimately failing his exams. British trainers reported him for insubordination and abusive behavior, stating their suspicion that he was involved in the assassination of the military academy's commander in 1963. Such reports were ignored and Gaddafi quickly progressed through the course with a group of loyal cadres. In 1964 Gaddafi founded the Central Committee of the Free Officers Movement, a revolutionary group named after Nasser's Egyptian predecessor. Led by Gaddafi, they met clandestinely and were organized into a clandestine cell system, offering their salaries into a single fund. Gaddafi traveled around Libya gathering intelligence and developing connections with sympathizers, but the government's intelligence services ignored him, considering him little threat. Graduating in August 1965, Gaddafi became a communications officer in the Army's Signal Corps. In April 1966, he was assigned to the United Kingdom for further training. Over 9 months he underwent an English language course at Beaconsfield, Buckinghamshire, an Army Air Corps Signal Instructors course in Bovington Camp, Dorset, and an Infantry Signal Instructors course at Hythe, Kent. Despite later rumours to the contrary, he did not attend the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst. The Bovington Signal Course's director reported that Gaddafi successfully overcame problems learning English, displaying a firm command of voice procedure. Noting that Gaddafi's favorite hobbies were reading and playing football, he thought him an amusing officer, always cheerful, hard-working, and conscientious. Gaddafi disliked England, claiming British Army officers racially insulted him and finding it difficult adjusting to the country's culture, asserting his Arab identity in London. He walked around Piccadilly wearing traditional Libyan robes,